Well, hello there. Welcome to another Brotherz tutorial, and this is a new series and it's gonna be all about some of the tracks we made and going a little bit behind the scenes and how we made the track and how we mixed it, mastered it, and what kind of sound design we are using and what kind of samples and so on. Maybe you get a little bit out of it, maybe you don't, but this is something that we wanted to do and share with all of you guys. And now, before we start, what's that coming from the left? Oh no, it's the subscribe button. Now you have to press the subscribe button down below and like the video. And you know what is this called? Editing. Sorry, we are too lazy to learn how to edit properly, so that's the way we are gonna do it until we decide to learn a little bit more or someone is going to do that for us. Alright, without further ado, let's dive into the project, which is a bootleg from NIVIRO, The Ghost. And first we are gonna look at the creative part where we make all the sounds without any mixing or anything reverbs or anything like that. We do it in a separate project with stems. So let's look at all the elements that we have here. We have kicks, all the kicks here. Unfortunately, this project was started, well, not unfortunately, but this project was started by Ville, and he used, let's see, Nicky Romero's kick, and you know what? On my computer, we don't have the registered version, so the EDM style kick is not going to play. But that's the only problem. Let's get in more into it. So we have the kicks up here, they're all labeled in red. Then we have the leads and the chords here on the green, and on the black there's the bass lines, some screeches with yellow colors, and arpeggios, pads and stuff like that are blue. Cymbals are labeled as white, and effects are gray, and the original vocals and the original track is orange, like the orange heart. Okay, so first of all, we started with the original track, and we included quite a lot of the original track. Mostly we wanted the vocals, but there were some elements that we liked and it fit to the theme quite well. So let's listen to the original track parts and vocals right here.
Are you afraid of the dark? Are you scared? I am you.
So we have little bits here and there.
Are you scared?
And something like this.
I can see you from behind. You can.
And if you want to hear it the full track, it sounds here like this. So we only add like bass line and some cymbals and effects and screech. And this was the main part that inspired us to do this track. And actually this is quite an old bootleg. We started this like I guess it was December 2019. So it's over half a year old. And actually this part was made in like few hours, some sort of that. When you get inspired and you have a vision, the tracks basically come together pretty fast. And let's look at the kicks. Okay, first of all, now this looks weird. We have a sidechain trigger, which is basically a punch of the kick, and on the mixer, where is it? Here. We are not going to use this audio in the mixing except for the compressors to know when they need to act how we want. You could also use something like what do we have here? Where is it? It's the Nicky Rommer's Kickstart. You can use something like this also. But if you want more control, you should use a sidechain trigger or a ghost kick, however you like to call it. So we do that here in the creative part. And here we have a main kick, which we used only the punch to layer with the reverse bass kick. And here we also have the main kick. In this project we used just a sampler, and we already have pitched kicks. And well, nowadays we use the, what was it called? I can't remember anything. Well, it's the, let's see, it's here. Nimble kick, yeah. That's what we use nowadays, but this is an older project, so we use the sampler. It's quite easy to use it, and in my opinion you can't pitch hardstyle kicks very cleanly with FL Studio's plugins, so that's the reason why they are all pre-pitched and then used on the project. And the main kick sounds like this. And then there is the reverse bass kick. And this time we use the Frontliner's reverse bass kick, which is slightly pitched down and layered with other samples like a pre-shifter and Not to Talk punch from the main kick. And this is just something that we found that fitted the theme of the track. Don't be afraid to use samples. If you find good samples and you think they sound nice and they fit to the theme, use them. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Alright, I think that's the main part of the kicks. Simple reverb bass, simple hardstyle kick, nothing too fancy here. Then we have the leads and the chords. And let's look at the leads. First, we have 6 layers of leads and harmonics. And in the mixer track, there's just a little bit of EQ on each, some mixing with the volumes to make it all fit together. And don't be afraid, this sounds quite harsh because there's nothing mixed in the lead pass. It's all empty and there's no reverb, there's no delay or anything. This is just the dry sound, and this is what we are going to mix in the next project. So the dry sound of the lead without any mixing, maybe a little bit mixing, but sounds like this. So that's quite simple. Just layer the sounds you like, and we almost always do all the sounds, all the layers ourselves. Sometimes we use presets if there's something that feels like it's going to fit perfectly to other leads that we made. We have a specific type or pattern which we make our leads, so we always do them on our own, so we get the signature bass Brotherz sound. And next, let's look at the chords. Oh, by the way, we introduced the lead in the mix intro. Oh, no, sorry, in the mid intro a little bit. Just some parts of the lead, so it's familiar from the start when the climax starts. Let's look at the chords. We have 5 layers of chords, and I don't know why, but we use the layer here and not on the leads. I don't know why, but who cares? Let's move on. We make chords pretty. I don't know if you say it. It's not next level, but it's something. The chords also follow the lead. There's basically 3 notes, which are the chords, and then there are these bassline notes and the 4th note to complement the whole chords to make it sound more full. And oh yeah, the harmonics is basically parts of the chords. So when you make the lead, then you make the chords, then you can make the harmonics pretty easily. Bassline, there's nothing fancy about that. 2 layers, simple bassline. There's just saw wave and a sine wave. That's about it. Of course, you can make the bassline more interesting, adding more layers or so on, but I don't think it's necessary. But at least in this song, simple is the way to go. And then the screeches. We used samples, and we also made something of our own. I can't remember which sample pack is this from. And then there is so, of course, use samples if you have. It's pretty easy, and sometimes we use samples and then make something similar on our own, but this time we didn't. This is labeled as Hoover, but this is more like a stab. It used to be a Hoover. So this is just to make some more, drive into the mid intro. It also sounds pretty nice with the reverse bass kick. We could, but we didn't want to mix it with the reverse bass kick to give it some more character. We wanted it to, stand out as on its own. And next we have arpeggios and pads, and this time we used a preset from Flex. That sounds cool, and it was the perfect solution for this track. And I think in the pads we used Flex as well, few layers, and of course we used what is this? Oh well, I think this is a preset as well, and they all together sound like this. And again, use presets and samples, that's okay. And then I don't think we're going to go any deeper on the cymbals. This is already 16 minutes long. Our style of making tracks is quite simple. I don't think you need to be extra, you know, try to do something always different and everything, you know, too fancy. If it works, it works, and everybody does things differently. We make our songs pretty simple and focus on the feeling what you get from the track. And basically the cymbals idea is just to give more drive to the track.
You scared?
Nothing too fancy. Some rides, some hi-hats, crashes. And then we have rise and hits and some drum loops. Just be creative. And quite often we use the FL Studio stock hi-hats and rides and stuff like that because they sound good. There's no reason to make your own. Of course you can do that, but I think it's too much work for a specific track. We have made some of our own crashes and snares and stuff like that, which we use in some tracks, but usually we use the FL Studio's own cymbals. It works just fine. And lastly, we have here some white noises, risers, and that's it. That's the whole track. There's nothing too complicated about it. And of course in the mixing there's some things we made, but not a whole lot. We have some EQs and we have reverbs here, which we used on the time we are making the track to know how it would sound with the reverb. And when we are finished with this creative part, we delete those and do every mixing from dry sounds. Let's start with the next project, which is the Mixdown. I think this is going to crash. Maybe. No. I think this is a quite heavy project with the mixing, so it's going to stutter a lot. So I think we are going to listen just the individual tracks and not the whole song here. Let's listen to the whole song in the mastering. Let's try. Well, it's not that bad. I thought it would be worse. So, we have everything put into the stems. We have the sidechain trigger, main kick, reverse bass kick, EDM kick, leads, reverse lead, chords, bass lines, vocals here, screeches, arpeggios, bells, so on, percussions, and the effects. And everything is here. We have come on. Some buses here. Why do I keep clicking that? We have the main kick send here and reverse bass final send, leads and chords, bassline and screeches. These are the, I think, the most important ones which we want to mix. And well, of course the vocals, but the vocals are from the original track, so they don't need much of a mixing except with the volume. So let's start here with the sidechain trigger. This does not go into the master track. It goes into the, tracks which we want to sidechain. For example, we wanted to sidechain the leads and chords, and of course hi-hats, because the hi-hats have they're pretty snappy, and there's often a hi-hat playing at the same time as the kick, so we wanted to make a little bit room for the kick to hear the whole high end of the punch, the talk part of the kick. The hi-hat was a little bit messing that up. So we have here a fast sidechain trigger and a slow sidechain trigger. And let's see what they do. Sorry, the OBS is screwing up the project. It's going to sound horrible. Here you can see. Let's turn on the sidechain first. We have the fast on the high end and slower on the low mids to make room for the kick. In the whole context, you're not gonna hear any difference, except the kick is more present and more upfront. And this way you can maybe a little bit boost with the leads volume when you make room that you hear the punch of the kick. And I think it would be better to use a multiband compressor, but we don't have a good multiband compressor which we would use to sidechain. So this is what we got, and this is how we do it. And let's go on to the main kick. Here's some weird stuff that we've been doing. This is something that maybe we are not doing anymore, but this was something experimental. We divided the main kick to low frequencies and the rest of the frequencies with EQ. This is cut from 265, actually to 247. Can't read anything. And here is another cut, but it's exactly the opposite. So this goes into the low and the rest, and these both go into the main kick send. And the reason why we did this is we wanted to give the low end a little more oof, if you would say, to saturate it and distort it a little bit. So we distort it with a FabFilter Pro L and also Neutron 3 exciter. And then we have another cut here, because when you saturate or distort, you're gonna get, of course, some harmonics. We wanted to cut those out. And basically here is just the EQ and limiter to, you know, play with the volume and shape the kick a little bit. And these go into the main kick send. God damn, there's a lot of EQs. There's just some tweaking here and there. There's nothing. Why do we have these here? Well, I don't know. We have some more exciter, and these are quite subtle. We have a compressor to, let's hear it. God damn. It's just taming a little bit here and there. These are quite subtle. I wouldn't use a hard compressor on kicks. And then we have a little bit reverb to, I don't know, make it a little bit more wider. And a limiter at the end to make sure it doesn't clip and it stays pretty much the same volume all the time. And there are no sudden peaks or anything. And basically there's the same process with the reverse bass, with the lows and the rest of the frequencies, and then sent into the main bus. And then I think we should go on to the leads. 27 minutes, let's do it more quickly. Leads, we have explained this on our other tutorials. We use the same principles every time, and this time we used an extra, you know, dry channel where we put the sidechain and filter. So it filters the chords and the leads the same way on the track, and you don't have to use multiple different filters. One is enough. And then we have the reverb and delay. These are also explained on other tutorials that we have. Basslines, there's nothing much. Just some saturation, EQ. We also have a filter for the open. Just before the climax, we are going to filter out the low end to make the kick more impactful when it hits. Next, we have vocals. There's nothing much but volumes. That's it. Because they're quite well done in the original track, so there was no need to change anything. And on the screeches, some multiband compression, some EQ, and on the screech bus we used a different equalizer and compressor, exciter with a saturator, and just another EQ to cut the unnecessary low end. And yeah, basically everything follows the same pattern. This is the most things that we do on the mixing focuses on these: the kicks, the leads, bass lines, screeches, and vocals. But we don't have a vocal bus here because in this case we didn't need it. Other things are secondary, and we focus those on a little bit later. We have panned here, you know, the cymbals, percussions, to make them fit into the track a little bit better. And there's some widening tools, auto pans, EQs. We could do another tutorial about percussions, what we have learned and how we treat them on our tracks. And then there is the effects. We should also maybe dive a little bit deeper onto the effects, white noises, risers when we do the percussion tutorial. Yeah, that's it. Basically, this is the point where we make the track sound whole and it's quite ready. And then on the mastering, we try to only, get more volume out of it. Let's start this from the scratch. So we bounce the whole mixing into a waveform, and as you can see, it's not clipping or anything. There's some peaks here and there, but of course the master limiter is going to take care of that. And on the mastering, we have first a limiter which we use as a compressor, but of course there's a ceiling. It's not, I don't know if this is wrong or not, but this is how we do it. We wanted to make this to cut the unnecessary peaks here, only a few here and there, and that's why the limiter is there. And then we use the Ozone 9 for the mastering. And of course we master every track differently, and we try to use as little as possible these modules here, but in this case we had to use quite many. First of all, we have a compressor here. Let's play the track. Sorry if it's loud, it's mastered track. Well, we can lower a little bit of the volume. I think that's better. So you can see the compressors are quite subtle. They're not doing much. And we have slower compressors here in the low end and mids, and faster compressors on the highs. And then we have a dynamic EQ. Well, basically this is used almost only as an EQ. It a little bit tames on the high end, just a little bit. And then we have a imager. We make the low end mono. As you can see, there's only one line. Now we know it's going to work perfectly on bigger sound system. And then a little bit widening on all the other bands. We thought it needed some. And well, the only necessary thing I think is the low end. I know some keep the low end, there's some side information, but I don't know why you would need it. Then a subtle EQ. This is after all the other effects. To make it a little bit more balanced. And then we have a vintage compressor. Which tames the whole song a little bit. And after that, a maximizer. Almost always we use this IRC3 clipping. And we use ceiling on minus 0.3 decibels. Basically, you don't need to go all the way to 0, but hey, everybody does what they want, and this is how we do it. This is how we learned that you should do it. At least if you export in MP3, I think it sounds a little bit better if you put the ceiling not quite to 0. Yeah, that's it. Then we have some tools here. Oh damn. This is going to be fun. How do we move this? Usually I use 2 monitors, so that's... And now when I'm recording only 1 monitor, and this messes up the whole thing. There we go. We use pan. We made our own preset just to check that everything is in balance. We also have balance control here. Damn, it's the same thing. We made also our own preset here, which is analyzed from different euphoric hardstyle tracks, and this is the baseline of tonal balance of euphoric hardstyle. And yeah, this is the track and how we made it. We also have because we made a YouTube video, we make it with the set game editor visualizer. It's a really good plugin. Oh, there we go. And I don't know if you want us to make a tutorial about this. This is really good for simple YouTube videos because, as I said, we don't know how to edit things properly, so this is the perfect tool for us. Okay, I don't know if there's anything more to say. This is how we do our projects, and let us know in the comments if you want to see more of this series. We are gonna make few more and see if people want to see them more or not. And next time I think we are going to do some of our new tracks, so we can dive a little bit deeper on the I don't know, maybe like the sound design, or suggest us what would you like us to show you more. It's really difficult to know what people want, and if you comment down below, then we know. And thank you for watching. The magic of editing. Wow, please subscribe, and yeah, see you next time. Peace out.